What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 3 of the Deadpan Diaries, and then the egregiously long surname or subname or whatever we want to call it. I will actually memorize that, or at least I'm going to try to do what is it called? The acronym, because I think that would be
Yeah.
absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Someone wrote it out, and I just love it. It's like TTORPGOHHAG, so it's something ridiculous. It's amazing. Anyways, hopefully you guys are good. I did take the stream down just before we went live a little bit before this because XCOM killed me. Like literally killed me. It actually crashed, so that's poopy. But normally I'd stream right up until this. But in either case, if you're tuning in from YouTube or if you're watching the stream live, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Been getting really good feedback on this. I am one of the hosts in control, and of course I'm joined every time by that bronze girl. How are you, friend? How are you
Good.
doing? Yeah.
Good. Having lunch, but good.
There's gonna be one guy on YouTube. Okay, there's one guy on YouTube you're pissing off right now. The second you start eating.
I know, right? I hate when when streamers eat on stream. Yeah.
It's like too immersive. It's too human.
I think so. I try to like lean away from my microphone because I don't like the sound of people chewing. But yeah, it's something that's eventually it's going to happen. Like eventually your schedule is so slammed that you need to eat on stream. And I do like IF, intermittent fasting. So if I don't eat, like,
oh, you just missed the window.
Yeah. Like if I don't eat when I can or when I'm supposed to, then my whole day is off.
Yeah.
And I get angry. I get like legitimately hangry because I've been, fasting for 17 hours or whatever. So I want to eat.
Yep. Yeah. I don't blame you. And no, it's totally fine. I'm actually the same. I don't like the sound of eating, but I actually even have a weirder thing too where I don't really like people seeing me eat. It's not even that I'm a gross eater. I chew with my mouth closed, all that stuff. It's just kind of it's not like it super bothers me. Like I'll like go into convulsions or something like that. It's a little bit too intimate. It's a little bit too weird. And there's always someone who's like, oh,
I hate it.
What are you eating? And you're like, oh, okay, you made it weird. I'm like,
yeah, I hate it. I don't know. It's something I've had to get used to, but I hate it, and I'll never not hate it. And then for a while, there was this fucking weirdo who would clip me eating. Like I would go through the clips for the day and it was the same person every time. And it was anytime I put anything in my mouth, he would clip it, even if it was something small.
I don't know where that rabbit hole goes, but what I do know.
I ultimately banned him because I was just so like, it wasn't even anything sexual. Huh?
Can you clip if you're banned?
No.
Oh.
No. And you can actually ban someone from clips. Like if they're like clipping, I've banned people who try to clip me out of context a lot.
Wow.
Like I'm like, yeah. And then somebody said to me, you're a shit-skinned mulatto. And somebody will clip that and try to like edit it down to where it sounds like I'm saying that to someone. I've banned people for that.
Okay.
Because it's like so clear they're trying to like get something to happen, which apparently that's in Twitch's TOS. If you try to clip somebody out of context and report them, you can actually get banned.
I don't know, man. I just play the video games, talk about a couple of things here and there. I don't.
Yeah.
That's
people
next level.
Will do it. They always try to like, clip you saying something like slightly out of context. Here's one. So if you ever play Monster Hunter, they have these little cats in there. And the white ones like don't really do anything, but the black cats, the Malinxes or whatever is what they're called, will hit you and they'll steal your stuff. And so there was somebody clipped this. This was one of those clips of like, report this bitch, right? And it was literally me playing Monster Hunter saying like, oh, well, you have to watch out for the black ones because they're the ones that steal. And that was it.
Yeah.
They clipped they just clipped me saying just that. And in context of the game, 100% made sense.
But in racial worlds.
But if you just listen to that clip, it's like, oh, well, it's wow. She said black people steal. And I'm like, I literally said the black ones. And there's like a cat in the thing too.
Yeah.
I was just like, people are weird, man. People are really weird. If anything, if that's racist, y'all need to call Capcom because they're the ones that made the black cat steal.
Yeah.
Like black cats don't already have a shitty reputation.
That is weird in isolation, but I can't help but to think of it more on the macro stage of like, what does a person look like and how do they, what is their life like where that's what they spend any amount of time at all? Like
Yeah.
I go to sleep sometimes. I'm like, shit, man. It's like 2 a.m. I wish I would have had a little bit more time to do this thing. I'm loving this game I'm playing. I can't wait to watch the next episode of the show, etc., etc. But there's people who are like, Yeah, tomorrow I'm gonna clip the fuck out of something. I'm gonna try to get it to really bury that person. I don't know. The weirdest part too is like, what if it worked? Like, what if they actually did hurt you, right? Like Twitch temporarily banned you because they saw you were talking about black people and it was this terrible thing. Is that cool?
Yeah,
Is that good? That like can really freak somebody out and really hurt them? Like actually hurt them?
maybe.
Huh?
You know, I know someone who works in EMS who obviously HIPAA can't disclose, but like they've taken 2 or 3 like YouTubers to the hospital for like self-harm. And usually it's like another YouTuber made a video about them, like attacking them, or they said something and now their entire social media following hates them. And I was like, that's insane. And that's just in Seattle. Like, and it's like it's a problem. Like, because they think their life is over.
Yeah. The thing that always surprised me is that people look at actions in a vacuum. I think most of the time, if you like harass, not that I'm encouraging this, but I think a troll or someone that's like kind of angry, they say or do something mean to someone and they think that that action by itself, not that big of a deal. And maybe it's not. But like we kind of talked about in the past, sometimes that person's having like the worst day of their life. Like their mom just got cancer. They had 5 videos demonetized. Now they don't know how they're going to pay their bills. And it's not even their fault. It's like the algorithm caught them on something weird. And then this person is that like 5th domino that shoves it over. And it's just, and to me, that's the part that like stops my heart. Like, because, you know, everyone, I don't know about everyone, but a lot of people like teasing or ribbing or whatever they think that is. I understand where it comes from. It's like an interesting set fire thing. But I would just feel so weird about doing that to someone I don't know in a way where it could tip them over. Like, what if you did find out that person fucking hurt themselves, or like you actually caused that person severe harm economically?
Yeah, and it's so weird to think about it because people feel that streamers are immune to that in some ways, like they're content creators in general.
Or they deserve it because their job's too good.
Yeah, this is like a really weird story, but this happened to me. Yeah. And it might not seem like a big deal, but in the greater scheme of things, it turned into one. We're sitting there and we're discussing hot chocolate. And we're talking about adding water into hot chocolate versus milk. And I was like, I've never done that.
Add water.
You know, that's really weird. Like you have to make hot cocoa with milk. If water, like if somebody served me hot cocoa with water, I'd be like, this is chocolate water. What are you doing? And this person out of nowhere. And I was like, personally, like when I make my Swiss Miss, and this is like while I'm drinking hot cocoa, by the way, I was like, when I make my Swiss Miss, and this person writes, Swiss Miss is fucking disgusting. And I was like, well, everything is a matter of opinion and taste. The appropriate thing there, if somebody were to be like, oh yeah, when I make my Swiss Miss, I'd be like, you know what? Personally, I don't care for Swiss Miss. I like the really fancy Ghirardelli stuff. That's what somebody with social skills would say. But, you know, somebody like you, probably with no social skills, I would teach you a life lesson and say, in general, when somebody's eating or drinking something, it's usually not wise to be like, X is fucking disgusting. It's just not a good way to socialize with people.
Okay. I'm waiting
for this to turn into Fight Club. Yeah, they didn't say anything else. They went on Twitter and said that I berated them, I harassed them, I bullied them, I embarrassed them in front of 360 people, that this is the type of stuff that drives people to kill themselves, all because I pointed out that they were very rude. I didn't call them names. I was like, you know, it's very indicative of poor social skills. You shouldn't say that. Like you should, you know, we're all having a conversation and you just came at me sideways. Was I a little sensitive? Well, yeah, of course, because anytime you're eating something like, and somebody's like, that's fucking disgusting. It's like, you're not eating it. Like, that's a really strong reaction to have. Maybe that's like a pet peeve of mine. No one's really like perfect, right?
All right.
But I didn't care as much that they said that, so much as they then said that, like, as an influencer, as a creator, I shouldn't have done that. I humiliated them. And in my head, I was like, but I didn't tell you to say those things. I simply drew attention to how, I didn't even ban you. I simply drew attention to how what you said was rude. You embarrassed yourself. And they went on this giant rant. And then I felt really bad. Like I really did. I legitimately did. I was like, wow, I ruined that person's day. But now that I have distance from it, I was like, no, she was fucking rude. That was so rude. Like I was like, I love when I have Swiss, and then she's like, Swiss is fucking disgusting. I was like, don't say that. I don't think I overreacted. But that day, combined with whatever else was happening, I had a moral quandary. I remember talking to people about it. I remember talking to my friends about it. My moderators, I was like, was I being an asshole? Did I go too far? Like, have I
Yeah.
ruined this person's life? But then they tweeted this other thing about how, like, essentially from their point of view, because I was a content creator, and even though they admitted they were rude to me, I shouldn't have been rude back.
Hmm. Well,
Like, the responsibility was on me to just like be like, yeah, you're right. Swiss Miss is fucking disgusting, and I'm an animal for drinking it.
this is actually going to be a good segue, but it's interesting because I hear you, and obviously I've been in your seat a million times, but
Yeah.
at the other side, as slight devil's advocate here,
Mm-hmm.
it is a different perspective, right? Like you have the microphone, you have the camera, those people are there for you. So when you single somebody out and are like, "That's rude,"
Oh yeah.
you must be unsocially adjusted, and that's wrong. I say the same shit all the time too, so it's not like I'm about to be like holier than thou and tell you that you did something super wrong. But I can still see how, and this is kind of what we're talking about, maybe for that person, they lashed out a little bit and were, or maybe they have actual social anxiety and are fucking socially weird, right? And in that moment, that was really bad for them. Now, does that mean they tweet about it and talk about how you like grabbed them by the hair and tried to scalp them? I don't think so. I think that's
right.
obviously more ridiculous. To be fair, by the way, for the chat, and for the person that's saying this, if your feelings were really hurt, I'll tell you what, if you would have tweeted at Bronze and be like, yo, I'm a huge fan. Obviously that continues, but that really sucked, and I didn't mean it that way, and I felt like you were a little bit harsh. I guarantee you, Bronze says, I'm sorry. Or something along the lines of like, I feel bad, I didn't mean to do that, I'm sorry. And then you get what you actually wanted, which was to communicate that you didn't mean to hurt their feelings, and your feelings were actually hurt. Or even if you don't get that, you give the person the chance, like Bronze, to be the bigger person or to be a person that you would want to follow.
And I felt blindsided because I never banned them. If they had written in chat like, okay, I get it, it was rude.
Yeah.
Like, but you don't have to say that. I've been like, you're right. I'm sorry. But the fact that they acted like it was all cool and then tried to like start something on Twitter, I was like, well, now you're tweeting this out to a bunch of people who have no context and don't realize that you were like kind of
often
being
not a bunch of people are right.
Rude. Yeah.
I'm not saying to be a dick. I just mean like very honestly, a lot of people like, you know, the average person has 20, 30 Twitter followers or less. So when they're doing that, it's not actually that many people. So then it gets in a weird spot.
You're not even really playing devil's advocate because like nothing is black and white. Like nothing is that like clear cut of like, oh, this person was wrong and I was right. No, most days a comment like that probably wouldn't have gotten to me at all. Like clearly it was something about that day that the way they said it and everything upset me. Yeah. And I responded by saying, you know, or you could maybe learn to have some social stuff. And maybe that was rude. I'm the first to admit I'm not a perfect person. But it becomes one of those things where it's like, but why is 100% of the responsibility on me to like be this perfect person all the time and not say anything back and not do anything back? And we talked about this in like our very first session of like, you know, oh, like that toxic positivity, like we're not really allowed to be human. And we're seeing that happen like more and more with content creators being like taken to task with what I call cancel culture. Like, oh, this person said this thing or this person did this thing. And I don't think people realize like how insane that can be, like that wave of backlash.
Well, this is such a good warm-up, Bronze, because here's the thing. I agree with you. But what I think is tough about this situation, and this is going to be applicable to the topic of flirting, which we'll get to in a little bit to introduce
Actually, it ties in pretty well to flirting.
It ties in so well. Yeah. But like, I hear you and I agree with you, but the line is blurry and it moves, right? Like we as content creators do ask that people treat us a little bit more special, right? Or different because we're in front of hundreds or thousands of people, depending on what the situation is. And that kind of conversation is not normal, right? Like I cannot go down the line and talk to each person as an individual. But if I see someone being like, man, I just, you know, they don't even say this. They don't say I just tuned in for the first time. They're just like, this guy sounds kind of like a dick. I'll be like, whoa, I saw you, dick, you fucking, you know, and then it's this weird thing. But at the same time, that line that you're talking about of like, why is the responsibility all on me? But then in other situations, we're also kind of like, but also you need to talk to me like I'm kind of your superior because you're in my channel. Right? Which is a little bit, it's a weird relationship. So and like I said, I'm basically the same as you. So this is kind of funny that we do the show and talk about these things. But like for me, I try and do a lot better job because I'm usually a jump down your throat kind of guy. But every time someone comes back at me and is like, that's not what I meant. I'm sorry. Just trying to say such and such. I'm always like, oh shit. Thank you for being level-headed. I was being a dick. I apologize. Let's move, let's talk about something else. It's tough. And that's why I feel like the better you can do of being like give them the benefit of the doubt or apologize first, the better you will be. But also there'll be more trolls, which is kind of a funny back and forth that way too, right? Because there's a whole bunch of people that's how they troll, is they like constantly are like walking that line, and then when you jump down their throat, they're like, "Please say sorry," and you're like, "I'm sorry," and they're like, "Okay, I'll do it again tomorrow," and you're like, "Wait,
Yeah.
I recognize your name."
Yeah. 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 Some of the people that have trolled me the best have gone on to become my mods. I'm serious.
What a
Like
great thing
one
to
of my
say.
mods, Kuro, he's just like, he really fucking sticks it to me. And it literally started with like,
I don't agree with that, by the way, mods in my chat. You guys don't.
well, there's some people you just like, I think, I don't expect everyone to come into my channel and be nice to me, but I also don't expect them to be like major cunts, right? Like somewhere in the middle. And he came into my channel. I was playing Dark Souls and I forgot what I said or what I did. Oh my God, I remember now. I think I like stopped to like powder my face. I do that a lot on stream because I'm greasy, as you can see, right? It shines a lot. So I stopped to like powder my face
I don't see.
like while playing Dark Souls. And this motherfucker, it's his first time on my channel, legit fucking comes in and says, I thought this was a Dark Souls stream, but it's just another girl stream. And I I said something back and I still game with him. Like we're like best friends now. But it was literally started with that because then my response was immediately to be like really sarcastic, or I was like, wow, I actually am not even a girl. This is a boy stream. Clearly I'm a cute twink boy.
Mm-hmm.
And then him and I flipped each other shit. All we do is troll each other every single day. And he's like a moderator and we're like really good friends, like really close friends.
Mm-hmm.
But it started with that. But part of it was when I talked shit back to him and he flipped it back, there was never like oh my God, what a fucking bitch. And that is like something that happens a lot. Like a lot. A lot of people are like, like, oh, they'll like say something like, I like you better with short hair. And I'm like, I like you better when you shut the fuck up.
Mm-hmm.
And then they just are like, it's really nice to see Bronze on this channel with you, Jeff. But when I'm in her channel, she's a dick,
Yeah.
And it's like, why is it that like when I flip anything back, it's like, oh no. Like, because I'm willing to take
like
it.
a
Half
litmus
the time
test,
and I'll
though.
ban those people,
Yeah. I mean,
because I don't assume they're thinking the worst. I assume they're like trying to be funny and the joke didn't fly and I joke back.
It's fine. Like that kind of thing that's life though, right? Like you're not going to get along with someone that's sensitive anyways, so
It's true. It's 100% true.
the only
And I
thing
had
is
to like
I hear
do
a
that
little bit
thing
of
that
an
you
emotional
said.
weight in your voice though, right? Like sometimes you're kind of upset that this happens, right?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, 100%. 100%. It's something that you talked about last time. Like you made the decision to like be okay with people or people not liking you.
Mm-hmm.
I think you said that in episode 1. I'm not there yet. So when people say things about me that's not me, I sometimes have a really hard time with that. I'm not ashamed to admit it. I'm not like at Jeff's level of just being like, people think like the fact, and I've told you this, like the fact that people come in and tell you like Jeff looks angry, for me, that would be like an issue. And I've said that before. Like when I'm sitting there thinking and people are like, God, why does Bronze always look angry? I'm like, I'm paying attention, like having that thrust upon you that you're a bitch or you're an asshole. Like that's hard for me because I'm like, but I didn't even do anything. I didn't even say anything.
It's good though. I think we're going through a similar, and this is not talking shit at all. I'm sure it's much more of a lovely community. But like for instance, you're on roleplay, which is kind of where I also was exposed to. I mean, I was on other things as well, but I think very specifically, JP's community is obviously a collection of very different people, right? Like it's not fair to generalize all of them, but they like narrative. They love their role play culture of sorts. So a lot of that is like, did you see how so and so talked to so and so after that one scene? And by the way, did you see them talk on Twitter? Like they kind of it's a little bit soap opera-y, right? So it's fun watching you go through that cauldron, if you will, of like, because I read all those comments too, right? Like Jeff, do you ever notice how Jeff never laughs when Adam makes a joke? You ever see that? It's like, does Jeff hate Adam?
Yeah.
You're gonna get that, and it after a while, there's nothing you can do except for to be like, listen, I realize I'm just entertainment for these people. Like they don't hate me.
You embrace the chaos. Being on someone else's channel is always nerve-wracking because they don't have that context of like, oh, that was a joke, or oh, she just is very sarcastic, or oh, she doesn't really mean that. That's just her brand of humor. It's always rough, and especially so when those people come into your channel, because that happened to me big time with role play, less with relics and rarities, but big time with role play, because they come into my channel and they've never really seen my personality outside of me role playing a character. So they're expecting one thing, and then they get another, and their immediate reaction is just like, this isn't what I wanted. Like, why are you like that? And I don't know, like,
that's the part of Twitch that I think it's actually gotten better, by the way. I can feel it. Not very much, but it is moving in the right direction. But the concept of like every content creator should fit to the viewer. Like the viewer, that I've heard it so much less these days, what you just said, but it does still exist, where they come in and they're like, I wanted you to talk about things this way, or why don't you just do this thing? Or I saw you in this other thing, so I expected you to be this. That kind of perspective is starting to go by the wayside more. Obviously, it'll never be completely gone. It used to be rampant.
Like, that's not on the viewer though, Jeff. That's 100% on our fellow content creators that sit here and say, I have a very welcoming community, open to everyone, and whatever people, they will get on their knees and suck your dick for $2.50. Like, that's where it comes from, where you try to appease everyone all the time. And there's other people that have come in and been like, gosh, I love you, Bronze, but I hate watching you rage at bosses. I'm like, then don't watch my channel, because every time I fight a hard boss, I'm gonna say this game fucking sucks and I hate it. I'm gonna throw my controller. I'm not gonna change. I'm not gonna change. That's who I am. But they're used to like other people being like, oh my gosh, you're right. I should try to be like, because those communities are branded that way.
There's a lot. The bigger channels are that way for sure, in particular.
Yeah, and I get it. I've said it from day one. I'm not for everyone. Like. People will come in and say, say hi to me. And I'm like, fuck you. Because I will say hi to people when they come in, but if somebody demands something of me, I'm like, that's weird. Like, what? Like, that's so weird.
Yeah.
Like, hey, can you wish me a good morning? No, I'm not your fucking girlfriend. Like, it's like, and I know some people are just like, but why are you like that? I will say hi to tons of people in chat and say good morning to tons of people. But when somebody like demands something of me, I'm like, who do you think you are? Like, oh, hey, can you sing me happy birthday? Fuck no. Like, no.
Hey, man,
fucking stripper.
Just trying to get something in there.
Come in here, drop a sub, and ask me to sing. But on the flip, I have legit blasted happy birthday on the kazoo for people that I like. But it's like when somebody makes that demand of you, like, I don't like to set that precedent that if you come in and demand something, you're going to get it, because I don't like that. That's weird to me.
Yeah.
But other channels, you have that sub badge next to your name, you drop $5, they'll fucking clap their ass cheeks for you. Like, they'll do.
Oh my God. You're moving in the right direction with your analogies, I guess. We're gonna get there. Jeez Louise. Clap your ass cheeks. God.
You knew what
I never feel like a prudish white dude until you start saying these things. I'm like, oh my God, she's talking about the sex again. No, that's good. By the way, Nero in the chat, great guy. We're gonna have you on at some point too, man. You're one of my favorite minds. You ever heard Nero talk, by the way? Bronze?
I met him at TwitchCon. Yeah, he was super nice. He was very kind. Very, very nice guy.
Very interesting guy. We'll have guests, I promise. I know we've done 3 episodes without a guest yet, but we're working on it.
Part of it was my fault. My scheduling fell through for one of them, but...
Well, yeah. And I asked Britt yesterday, for God's sakes. Just been really busy, but we'll get on it. So let's get to the main topic. And like I said, we kind of circulated on some of this. So to introduce the topic, it's just basically flirting and the etiquette of that. But what I specifically am interested in is, obviously this is going to go everywhere. We're going to talk about absolutely everything, but kind of specifically a little bit of flirting online and kind of as Twitch pertains, which I know is a little bit weird, because at some point there's a terrible belief that like any girl streamer should be hit on, and that's flirting, and we're going to talk about that and how that's actually not welcome, or that's not okay. But the reason this topic's actually here, and I tried to have Britt Wiseman, who's our fellow friend and person on the Sunfall Cycle, which is Jesse Cox's D&D show with Steven and Bronze and me and Britt and everybody. Airs tomorrow. Anyways, is she's had a couple experiences. She's very open about this, and I think it's really interesting because it's a whole slew of thoughts that I have, and I know a lot of males in particular have similar thoughts about the do's and don'ts of this subject. So anyways, she basically was walking to Twitch or from Twitch. She works there. And if you live in San Francisco or Oakland and many other places, of course, but here it's very prominent. There's guys just catcall. They just fucking do. They'll be across the street and be like, "What's up, baby? You look so good." And then the weird shit, which we'll talk a lot about too, which is like, "You're so pretty, you should smile," which is, again, let's not get off topic just yet. I'm just introducing the story. We'll talk all about it. But this is not welcome to Brit, whether you like it or not. This is not something that she wants. So she gives pretty stern responses. Things like her eyes roll so hard her head spins. She, vomits in her mouth a little bit, that kind of stuff. And then usually she gives the guy a piece of her mind. And I think that's interesting because I think for a lot of people, males in particular, they weren't expecting that response. So that tells me that there's a discussion to be had around this kind of thing. And that's just the catalyst. I also want to talk about just flirting in general, because I myself, actually, and I'll get into that in a minute, struggle quite a bit with the concept of flirting. And I'll talk about why. But this is, I think, going to be a long show, because we just 25 minutes to a tangent about all the other episodes, basically. So let's talk about flirting.
We caught you up.
Yeah, we caught everyone up, so that's good. So subject of flirting. Bronze, that was the story. And I saw you also respond on Twitter, I believe, to her with this. And I'm going to assume, and I believe, and yell at me if I'm wrong, I think you have a similar opinion to Britt, that is not welcome, that's not okay, and you don't like that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So let's talk about.
There's been movements about this.
Yeah.
There's been there's been T-shirts and whole brand movements and videos. There's a very fascinating YouTube video of a girl recording herself walking down the street in New York, and it's
I saw that, with the cam on her chest.
Oh yeah, just to draw attention to it, how often it happens,
Mm-hmm.
It happens in other countries too.
Let's even, just for the sake of time, because I know that we could, and I don't think there's going to be two guys that'll try to defend this, and it's not me. Let's get away from the vulgar catcalling in particular. That's just the catalyst for the story. I think we can all pretty much on some level understand that if you nice ass, probably not going to be welcomed by 99% of the female population. And if that comes as a shock to you, Jesus Christ, stick around, hopefully listen to us and maybe take some advice. But let's talk about flirting as more of a conceptual thing, and let's use it through the lens of just in public right now, because Britt actually explained herself in that tweet as well, where she talked a little bit about how, when she's walking on the sidewalk, she doesn't expect to be flirted with. She doesn't want to be hit on. But I think for a lot of guys, that's weird, or at least they don't understand, right? Because, when is it okay to flirt with a girl? Where do you publicly approach?
Catcalling is not flirting.
That's why I said let's get away from that example.
Yeah. Because that's that's a very different thing, right?
Approaching a girl publicly. Let's just literally go there. Is it only okay if it's at a place that is commonly associated with flirting, like a bar or a club or something? If you try to approach a girl anywhere else, is that weird? Is that bad?
No, I think you need to learn to read the room. If somebody is on there, clearly has a purpose and is moving somewhere, and you stop them to flirt with them, you're kind of being dumb. You're setting yourself up for failure. To be a victim, to be the perpetual victim of I don't know. How are you supposed to even meet people nowadays? It's too, I don't know, pull your head out of your ass and learn to empathize. And it's one of those things where you can't always play that victim card. Because that was what Britt said pretty close to verbatim, was that when she is commuting or trying to get home, that is the last thing that she wants. So when somebody is very clearly making their way to the bus stop, very clearly trying to catch a bus and trying to get home, and your response is to stop them, how the fuck do you think that's going to go? How would you feel if you were trying to make a bus or trying to get someplace and someone stopped you and essentially just wasted your time? Of course you're going to get an aggressive reaction when you approach women like that.
But this is tough, and this is why I think the conversation's here. I don't disagree with what you said, but I think it's so different for guys. And there's a couple of examples. If for instance, And obviously, we need everyone to have like some level of maturity with this conversation. Otherwise, there's going to be mass bannings on my channel. We'll have
Yeah,
15 people
yeah.
watching. But like, if and there's going to be someone that says this doesn't matter, but for the sake of the example, it is going to matter. If an attractive girl stopped me on the street and was like, "Wow, you know, where are you heading?" or something weird like that, a guy most of the time is going to kind of be like, "Well, shit, hey, I'm going to so and so place. Oh, cool. Do you mind if I walk with you? I'm alone, and it's weird for me. Okay." And then you start talking. You start hanging. Like there is no weird place for a guy, except for maybe a urinal. For an attractive person, if you're single and hoping to find somebody or whatever, for that to happen, I can
Mm-hmm.
see why it's different for women because it's more predatory, right? Like when a guy you have no idea about is like, "What are you up to?" You're kind of like,
Yeah, because you
"Whoa,
don't
what
know
the
if
fuck?"
they're going to follow you to your place of work, your place of business, and stalk you or hit you over the head and drag you into an
Which
alley
does
and have their way
happen.
with you.
Yeah,
Happens a lot.
yeah.
It happens a lot. I think like that's the other thing though, right? Like women are trained from when they are young to be alert all the time. My mom worked for the police department,
Mm-hmm.
but it wasn't even her that instilled that in me. It was my dad and it was my brother who told me constantly, like, be alert, be aware. My dad didn't even like me wearing earbuds because he'd be like, you really need to know what's
Be
going
aware
on
of what's
around
going
you.
on around you. Yeah.
Yeah, like, we've been taught to have our car keys in our hand on the way to the car, like, so that we
Mm-hmm.
can get into it as quickly as possible. And so when you come at me from my peripheral, like, of course I'm going to be,
Mm-hmm.
especially if I'm alone and there's not a lot of people around,
Yep.
I'm going to go on the defensive. And it's just something that,
And I absolutely agree. And what
that's
I
what you're
wasn't
trained
saying,
that's what you're trained to do,
right. I wasn't saying it's different for men because I think it's correct. I'm more introducing the concept that I think is interesting, that men and women are so different that you have to think outside of yourself. And because for a lot of guys, like that is the funny response. That, and again, not to stick with the catcalling example because I think that's a very easy one to hand wave away. It's obviously too aggressive, but like um the idea that you're being like you'll flirt and you expose yourself, and that's kind of a scary social situation. But when you're dejected, there's a lot of guys that'll be like, "Well, fuck you," or like, "What are you?
Yeah.
You're a whore. I don't even want to talk to you anyways." Like they get mad about it, and that to me tells me that there's obviously a bunch of issues going on. But first and foremost, and maybe the most, I don't know, hopefully fixable one, is just people not looking at it from the perspective of outside of themselves, flirting. If you do approach a girl or guy or whatever, and it makes them uncomfortable, and your first response is anger, shit, that's not good, right? Like you're going about that
Yeah.
the wrong way, anyways.
Yeah, because I feel like most people who aren't weird,
Mm-hmm.
typically, like, if you're like, "Oh, I'm sorry," if they get the vibe that you're uncomfortable, they're immediately like mortified,
So
you
let's
know?
let's work our way in then. So obviously, well, not obviously, I guess, but I think we touched on this concept, and we can probably lock this away with we agree on this. And unless I see some questions in the chat, I think we can all kind of agree on it. Approaching
Mhm.
women as a man in particular. And I do apologize. This is very heterocentric. I can't really pretend to be homosexual, but if someone in the chat has more experience or wants to talk about it from that perspective, let's do that. I'm not afraid of it. I just can't. I've never been homosexual, so I can't tell you from a different perspective. But again, a man approaching a woman in the public, like streets, out when they're just walking somewhere, probably not a good idea ever. Almost ever. It's just gonna come off as weird. It's gonna come off as maybe aggressive. What are you trying to sell me? What's the threat here? It's just weird. Where are the appropriate places to try to flirt and engage a stranger, a woman that you do not know? Is it literally only the bar and the club, or like a friend's house type of thing?
I don't think so. But I'm probably like the worst person to talk to this about because to me, literally every single one of my relationships has come from knowing the person as an acquaintance first.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I've never played the weird flirting game of like, it's like I knew this person or we ran in the same circles or we were friends or we shared a college class and something came from that. because this is a whole other topic. The friend zone doesn't actually exist. There's plenty of people who are friends and then become, you know, like more than that. And if there's a person that you're friends with and you feel like you've been put in the friend zone, then you need to stop lying to yourself because you were never friends. That's a maturity thing. Like if there's, and I've had that conversation with people where they're like, oh yeah, but like, you know, we're friends and I want to take it further and she doesn't, and it just feels like this. And I'm like, so you don't want to be your friend?
Yeah.
Well, no, but it's like, be honest, fucking grow up and say, well, just tell her, be like, I'm not really interested in you in that way. I was more interested in you romantically. So I have no interest in hanging out with you anymore. Like, I don't know why people don't do that instead of harboring that bitterness for
You
years.
don't know
and years
why,
and years.
honestly?
I
That's
don't.
hard.
Like, is
That's
it
really hard to
desperation?
do. Desperation? I think it's the fear of like, I think you're a very bold, confident person. So, but maybe you weren't always so. The idea of rejection is really fucking hard. It's embarrassing. Very
But why
hard
would
for
you
people.
put yourself through it over and over again?
Oh, like the friendship thing? Well, so
Yeah,
that,
like I like, listen, everybody's been turned down or everybody's had somebody where it didn't work out. And I'll say it right now. I did not maintain a friendship with any of my exes.
yeah.
Any of them.
I don't either. I don't think it's very hard for
I don't
me
want
to
to be
see
your
that.
friend. Like, we tried it, it didn't work out. I don't want to be your friend. So why would I place myself in the friend zone and put myself in that constant rejection? Like, either you're friends and maybe you decide you grow through your friendship years into it and you realize like there
Yeah.
might be something here, or you're not.
I think I know why. And I want to see.
Yeah, no, I'm legitimately asking. It's not a rhetorical question.
Chat, help me out with this because I think this is a weird, honest answer that I feel like it's not cool to say, by the way. But I think people are in a situation where they are just friends, but typically the male. But let's say it's not just the male, but very often it is. They know that there's not a romantic angle necessarily at that time, but they maintain the friendship with their interests in mind because, for lack of a better way to describe it, it's kind of like the long con. Like, at some point, the guy typically believes they can kind of whittle down the girl and be like, not even in it. Here's the thing: when you put it into words, it sounds way more predatory. Maybe it just is, but like the concept is, I'll be really nice to them and I'll be around them, and maybe they're not interested in me now, but after enough good deeds or enough supportive talks, we'll get to a place where they're like, holy shit, this person is actually interested in me. And here's the funny thing. I believe, and you tell me because you understand this better than me probably. I believe this sets up women in this terrible position where they're like, oh my God, this guy can just be my friend. He is supportive and nice, and he's not actually trying to get in my pants. So I have this really wonderful thing. While the guy, maybe even subconsciously, is working an angle. Like they're like, and that the funny thing is for guys too, and girls, they do this as well, but like, maybe they're not consciously like, I'm working on this person. I'm grooming them into a place where they'll like me and we'll date. It's more of a like, oh, I would totally bang her. Let's just, I'm going to be nice to them. I know that they like that. And then I'm also over here working this other thing. They're like setting up different angles.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas if you go to the person and say, look, romantic or not, that's all I'm interested in. They're like, no, I'm not. And they're like, well, I'm embarrassed, but also I'm never talking to you again. That closes a door, right?
Yeah, I think part of it is like, that can't be the only thing you want out of that friendship. It can't just be like, this needs to end in a relationship, or it has to be like somebody said in chat, you can be attracted to a friend and still be friends. 100% you can. 100% you can. That requires a lot of maturity though. You need to be honest with yourself. Yeah. You need to be really real with yourself and be a grounded individual to be like, yeah, I find this person attractive, but they're my friend. But a lot of people are working an angle, and it's almost unfortunate because you sign people up in verbal contracts they never agreed to.
Yes.
Or nonverbal contracts they never agreed to. So like a good example is, I was friends with this person who was in a relationship. I was in a relationship as well. Okay. So obviously in my mind, there's nothing that needs to be stated here. They were spoken for. I was spoken for. Correct?
Yeah. You don't have to have the talk. That'd be weird.
Yeah. He broke up with his girlfriend, is venting to me. I'm being the classic good friend. And, and he's like, gosh, sometimes I just wish you were single and then this wouldn't be an issue. And I'm like, is that the only thing you think is standing in the way of us dating, is me being single? Because I could tell you right now, even if I was, I would not date you. And he was like, why? And I was like, well, first off, you're younger than me. Second off, you lack emotional maturity. Third off, and I literally listed out a list because this person was so insistent. which
You
was a
started like
harsh
roping
thing to
out his
do to
intestines.
somebody's face, because then they decided to refute all those things. And I was like, and he's like, well, then why are you my friend? I was like, because it's fun to hang out with you.
Yeah.
But would I want to live with you and build a life with you? No.
Mhm.
No, no. You're a giant man child. Like, fuck no. Like, but I'd be your friend. Like, I didn't think this needed saying. Like, you're in a relationship, I'm in a relationship, and you think the only barrier to us being together is that I'm in a relationship. Like, we need, and then the reason some people be like, why'd you say it? Because if I break up, like, do you realize this person could snap at me? They could freak out. Like, I've been friends with her for 4 years and she's finally single and she's not dating me. But it's also like I ended up stopping being friends with him. Not after this conversation, but like weeks later when it set in, that was like, wait, so the entire time when he was with this girl, did he like have me on the back burner? Like he was like setting up his cards. And I was like, I don't think I want to be friends with somebody that I'm like, you know, that I'm in here thinking like, oh, we're just really good buddies. And they're over here like conniving or some weird shit. It's weird. And it's, once again, it's totally cool to be friends with someone and be like, this person's like cute. You know, if she was ever single, I'd ask her out. But that assumption that like, man, it's too bad you're not single. Like in his mind, this was a done deal. And that was the part that stuck in my craw. Like, it's one thing to be like, if she was single, I'd ask her out. Another thing to be like, the only barrier to us being together is her significant other, because she would say yes. It's like,
I get it.
I never agreed to that.
I know.
I never said that.
That's a very male thing, though, and I'm not saying that makes it.
But it's scary because people feel like they invested something.
I'm not what. You can't cut me off when I say that, because then it makes it sound like it's a male thing. And you're like, well, hey, Jeff, and I'm like, boys will be boys, bronze. Like, no, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm trying to say is, though, and this is why I like this talk so much, is I think so much happens off of like fantasies, but also instinct and biology. Which, again, please, chat, everyone, please hear me. I am not excusing these things, and you'll never hear me say that that's okay then. What I'm coming from the angle of is ignorance, and this is why I like this show, and I like chatting with Bronze and people. I feel like if we extrapolate these concepts and string them out and talk about it more, and you're more self-aware of how these things work, you can become a better person. So, like, I've been there too, and that line, if you weren't single, we'd be so good together, that's almost ingrained in every male on some level, not be like from movies and shit. And again, not saying that's okay, but like that concept of, God, we work so well together. And it's because the girl's like, you're a cool friend and I enjoy your company. And for the guy, they're like, if you enjoy my company, then we must be able to fuck. You know, like that's how the guy's brain always works. And that's it goes to there's like 15 different directions to take this that I like. But first and foremost, I love your honesty, and I think that's something that's so refreshing, and I wish existed more. Male to female, female to male, male to male, female to female, fucking everything, all of it. It's like there's so many people that have these unspoken things, and I'll tell you what, from a different angle too, as the partner to that person, if I know I'm with somebody that's honest with their friends, and they have these talks, I feel so much more comfortable and okay. With them hanging out with people that are with guys or whatever, or other like if they're just out there like, yo, this is my situation, this is where I'm at. That's so much better, because the other weird thing that happens with flirting, like I said, we can go everywhere. I think we're gonna have a 5-hour show. We'll see. It puts the person in such an uncomfortable position. Like let's say the friendship never had that talk, and the guy was led along or whatever. Not that the girl ever meant for that to happen, and never should it be her responsibility to try and get him off the hook or whatever. But it did get there. And then the guy like does this terribly horrifying like, I love you. Oh my, without you I'll die. I'm nothing. And it puts this girl in this terrible spot where she could be Bronze like you and just like slit his throat and slay him and be like, here's reality, bitch. Or what a lot of girls do is they're just like so incredibly uncomfortable because they now have to either slay this guy or they have to like accommodate them emotionally, and they don't want to. It puts them in a compromising, terrible spot. Yeah. Where they have to like let them down lightly, or suddenly they did lead them along, but they didn't. They just thought they were friends. Like it's this really uncomfortable thing. So much of that is alleviated by having the talk or being honest, which is so tough too, because then there's this weird thing where you're like, hey, just so you know, I really am interested in you as a friend. I'm with so-and-so. They're like, oh, I didn't think of you that way. You're like, oh, okay, I wasn't saying you did necessarily. And they're like, yeah, don't be weird about it. do you think you're so hot, bitch? And then they like walk away, and you're like, oh, well, I'm gonna go hang myself off of a bridge now. But if that's their reaction, I think you should have had that talk anyways, because you didn't want to be with that person, friend or otherwise.
Yeah, and I think part of the reason why I'm so brutally honest, and it never helps. I'm gonna be honest, it never helps. Like you'd think, I'm sure it helps a little bit actually, but you'd think that, like, with how honest I am, I wouldn't be in that situation where somebody is like, oh, well, it's too bad you're not single, or this would all solve itself. And I'm just like, I felt the need to clear that up right there,
Yeah.
right? But the fact that that even happened, and I've been stalked before. It was bad, and it wasn't by somebody that I was friends with. It was with my lab partner. When I went to high school, they ended up stalking me for years. And all I could think, I completely internalized that and blamed it 100% on myself. All the phone calls, like, cause he'd call my house all hours of the day, 24/7. And when he found out I was moving to America, he flipped out and called even more. I had to delete my Facebook because it wasn't just him. He would ask his friends to get on their accounts and like talk to me and all this stuff. It was terrible. And this is just from somebody who is my lab partner. And my biggest regret as me being me, because I always have to look at what I can change and not the universe, because you can't change that, was that even though all we ever did was do chemistry projects together, because that was our assigned, alphabetical goal or alphabetical pairing, all I could think is I should have said that. I should have been like, we're really great lab partners, but I don't like you. I will never like you. I'm not attracted to you. I will never be attracted to you. And I'm like, you know what? Anytime we like got an A and we high five, this motherfucker thought like she's going to suck my dick. And I blamed myself for it for years that I didn't like say something before anything happened. Now, in hindsight, I'm just like, high-fiving somebody when you both get an A is not a social contract. But because of that, I am very aware of social contracts and how they can very quickly turn into scary situations. And I think with this person that's like, oh yeah, I slit their throat with truth. I didn't want 3, 4, 5, 6 years down the line to go by. This person asks me out, and at that point they've invested 4, 5, 6 years, and they've got all this time in, because that's where it turns into this like weird, creepy situation. I just try to nip that shit in the bud. Like, so often I just try to like end that before it begins, because I don't want to go through that again.
Yep.
And I'm sure there's going to be somebody that's like, it's not your fault. It's easy for people to say that, but to me it was like, clearly I gave him some vibe that told him that I was into him, and this happened. I don't even think I had a conversation with the dude about anything other than what we were working on. I never hung out with him outside of when we were doing our lab projects, but this situation still occurred for me. So all I did was like, okay, this can't happen again. Like, he's made my family miserable. He's made me miserable. I don't feel safe. Like, I was so lucky I was moving to America. I'll just say that, because I think if I had stayed in that same town, I don't know what I would have done.
And I think it's worth mentioning, by the way, because there's going to be people who say this. Please don't hear this discussion and think that by saying this is the way it is or whatever, that means either of us are condoning or saying that's okay. Obviously, in like a utopian society, men and women could hang out and there wasn't this weird... or people, I'll just start saying people could hang out and there wasn't like sexual tension or the need for that discussion. But that is, I can say it as a guy who, like, I've had plenty of female friends. I've been married for years. I've had long-term girlfriends, all that kind of stuff. Like, I've been in the situation where it's inappropriate for me to have feelings for someone, or not even inappropriate, but like there's no basis for it. It's just a lab partner, or it's like someone that I'm sitting next to at a bar and it's a friend of a friend, right? But biology fucking kicks in sometimes for guys. It is opportunistic and a lot of times almost predatory about how you're when you look at a person, a woman or whoever you're attracted to, and you're like, is there something here? That's almost always the question. And I can't speak as a woman, I can only speak as a man, but for me, it constantly pops up. So it's actually like something you have to be aware of and work on at all times and be socially aware of, because some of the most rewarding friendships I've ever had is plutonic male to female friendships. Like women are so different from men; they have so much to offer. But I hate how weird it can get sometimes, where if you're not honest with each other or you interpret things the wrong way, you can steal that away from yourself. And this is the part, and this is gonna we'll get into a different territory. But for me, even when I'm single or whatever, it's so hard for me to flirt because I'm aware of these concepts. I don't want to. So this is actually me changing subjects. We'll just get into this. The weirdness of flirting for me. I feel like I have like a self-loathing, apologetic approach, which is so weird because I know like some of my friends are really fucking suave, and the game of flirting is so at times strangely dishonest and gamey that it really fucking turns me off so bad. Like online dating, all that shit. The things you have to do, not even have to, excuse me. The things that are successful for a lot of people are it's so weird, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
I have such a tough time with it.
Yeah, I mean, like it's funny because my stream today had like the perfect lead in to like this talk show because somebody came in and they were talking about how like it was strange that girls ignore gamers in high school, and I was like, that's not a thing. Nobody has ever been like, oh wow, you're like really smart and really charming and really attractive, but you like video games and that makes my pussy dry. Like that's never happened ever. Like, and so I actually talked about it because, you know, I was like, being from a STEM background and going to school with a bunch of engineering nerds, I could tell you right now that it's not the nerdiness that turns people off. It's usually the lack of confidence. That's a completely different animal, right? Like, and oftentimes we associate that with nerdy people.
Funny territory there, getting into confidence.
Yeah. But you know, like I worked in a video game store we sold video game, magic, and like war game stuff, like board game stuff as well. And independently owned is awesome place. And I first worked there and then I managed that place with the owner for I think like 4 or 5 years. And there was plenty of dudes who could pull mad chicks, but the difference was a lot of times they had a job or they had a hobby that forced them to like socialize, if that makes sense. Like they forced them to like be able to talk to people and stuff like that. The most popular kid in, you know, debate club, he was this Irish boy. Like, I don't think the 4 years we went to school together, I don't think he was ever single for more than 6 seconds, right? And this is like the nerdiest dude ever. But once again, like because of debate club or something, he had managed to like pull off this like, I know how to sell myself type of thing. So when people tell me that like, oh, well, girls don't like nerds, I'm like, I think girls just don't like people that like, it's like that and it's not even girls. I think dudes as well. Like people want to feel like you're approaching them because you like them and not because you're desperate. Because you haven't gotten your dick wet in 8 months, because that's not very flattering, right? So I think that's a part of it. But this person went on this whole rant about like, you know, how you have to hide your nerdiness and this, that, and the other. And in my head, I'm like, this person's never going to be successful because it's not about your nerdiness. You don't go up to someone and say, be successful. I see that you're wearing, hello, Jeff, I see you're wearing an Imperial logo there. I have to ask, what's your favorite TIE fighter? Like, no, that's not. It's not the nerdiness that turns people off. I think it's the delivery that turns people off. You know, that's just my thought. Yeah, I might be crazy because you can never tell from like a first interaction like how many hours a day a person plays video games, right?
Yeah, I understand that. To me, that's a little bit different. Like that's one of my buddies is very machismo, and he's like, you know, he also is. Well, I'll even just say it in the chat because he fucking. Maybe he hates me talking about him publicly, but whatever. I'll punch him in the face. It's Reese, the guy that he owns Frontline Gaming. He's big in Warhammer. He's one of my best buds in the whole world. Love the guy to death. He's went to San Diego State or something like that. He's slept with like hundreds of girls. So if you measure success with women that way, then there you go. But he's always like hid the fact that he owns a gaming store, and he doesn't like that people find out that he spends hours every day talking about rules for a game that's been around 30 years. That are a little plastic spacemen. So that's like a thing, I guess, that people have. I don't really identify with that because I don't know. I think the whole when I talk about the game of dating, I understand what you're saying about confidence, and that's fine. And of course, that pertains to this subject as well. I'm actually specifically even talking about confidence. I'm a pretty damn charismatic guy. I am extremely confident in everything I've done. Debate. I could sell myself. The thing I have a tough time with, it's this weird, like, it's next level, and it's a little bit, I don't know. It's like I said, it's got a self-loathing aspect to it. I don't want to convince a girl. I don't want to sell a girl on an idea, and then hook, line, and sink her that way. You know what I mean? Like I want my dream scenarios are like social interactions, friendliness into familiarity, into like, I really enjoy your company. Do you mind if can I take you out to dinner? Can I go to that kind of thing? And that to me is nice, but now we're talking about paring down situations in which you can comfortably feel good, about beginning to date a girl or whatever. And it's funny. So full disclosure, I'm dating a really, really wonderful woman, and it's pretty fucking funny because she's out of this world, gorgeous and stuff, but that is also a first thing. Even Anna, who is my ex-wife at this point in time, but like when I first looked at her at the debate team, the funny story that we always told is like my mind went, nope, she's too pretty, and then I just like moved on. Like mentally, was like, no, not gonna do it. Too much of a, like, she might shoot me down or whatever. Same thing with this girl. I didn't make any move at all. My mind was like, nope. And then she actually had to like break all social norms and be like, can I stay at your place? And she's like, yeah. And she's like, it's cold. Do you mind if we cuddle? And I'm like, sure. And then only then was my mind like, wait a second, what the fuck is happening here? So it's just kind of a funny, like, I don't know. That's why this conversation's interesting for me, because I wanted to hear, what are girls looking for with flirting? And I know that you can't answer for all women, but like for you in particular.
No, I can't. I'm weird, Just like when people are like, being a nerd when you were young was not cool. Like, I've been a nerd my whole life, and there was not a point in time where everybody on the playground did not have a Game Boy. There was not a point in time where Pokemon was not fucking cool, and where Dragon Ball Z was not fucking. I don't know what school you went to, but the things that I was ostracized for were like, oh yeah,
what?
Yeah. Well,
You gonna get personal?
Like I think the things I got made fun of for in high school, this wasn't until high school, was never nerdy stuff. It was always like being into wrestling. When I was in high school, I was the only girl in my class who liked wrestling and enjoyed it. In America, everybody did, but when I moved to India, like, I was like the only person. So that was a thing. Like, I remember being mocked for it. Yeah. I'm not saying those situations don't happen. Like, I've totally been mocked for being a nerd by other women. Not by men. Actually, yes, by men too, now that I think about it. But it was always like, you want to go do this with us? And I was like, Thursday night, I can't. Yeah, she's going to go play World of Warcraft with her guild. And I'd be like, yeah, and you're going to get drunk and bang random dudes. Peace, bitch. Like, so like there is some mockery there, but I think the point I was trying to make was that it's not 100% of the time. Like, I don't think it's as common as people think it is.
I don't know what you're talking about, Bronze. I don't know what you're saying. You don't? No. What do you're talking about getting made fun of for being nerdy again. What are you saying?
I think because I was thinking about flirting. It's weird. So
I was like, how do people like to flirt with you, Bronze? You're like, well, I keep getting made fun of being a nerd. I'm like, Bronze?
Well, it was. Do
we have something else to talk about? Do I need to talk about being made fun of being nerdy?
It was like in my head, I started thinking about all of my unpleasant experiences with flirting. And a lot of them happened when I was working at this game store. Like, a lot of them happened when I was working there.
Like, they were trying to flirt with you, but they just made fun of you or something?
No, like, they were trying to flirt with me, and I was like, this is cringe as hell, And I was like, wait, am I one of those people that dislikes nerds? And I was like, no, because I was in a game store, so everybody was a nerd. So I think that...
Yeah, you lost me, man. I'm an expert host. I've been doing it for years, and I have no fucking clue where you're at right now. I can't even... This is if we had guests, I'd be like, so, Britt, let's
That
go
was
to
my
you real
train
quick.
of thought. Like, it was this weird train of thought where I was like, oh, when people flirted with me at work, it was always like awkward and just terrible. And I never walked away from that situation like, that dude spit mad game. So I'm trying to think of the times they did so that I can give you like a good example of when it's appropriate or when it's cool. Usually it involves having rapport. Now that you mention it,
I think that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that anytime you approach somebody for the first time and you say something like very aggressive or weird or like, you know, trying to express interest, it almost never goes well.
Yeah.
I'm like, once again, not an expert. That's just in my personal opinion. It's usually when you see somebody for the third or the fourth time, you kind of recognize each other and they come in and you're like, oh, hey, how's it going? Get another pack of magic today? And then they say something, it's almost a lot better because there's like rapport there and they've taken some interest in you and you kind of know each other. And so then when they're like, I'd love to buy you lunch sometime, it's naturally more comfortable because it's not like a total stranger that this wall is built up between you and this person that you're trying to court that, you know, do or die type of situation.
There we did. We squeezed bronze enough and now we got some good advice out of that. That's I really like that though, because that jives, right? Like the more rapport you have, the more familiarity, the more you can actually approach that topic. I think the idea of cold calling anyone is so Hollywood, right? We can think of all these.
You gotta be
movies.
really fucking good looking for that.
You gotta be Brad Pitt, dude.
Yeah. You have to be incredibly fucking good looking to get away with that shit. I'm just gonna say that to like come up to somebody.
Let's say attractive. So we get away from just looks, right? Like you have to have something remarkable.
Yeah. You gotta have like a star quality.
Yeah.
Like you have to be really smooth to have like you need to be Bruce Wayne.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like outside of that, which let's be honest, none of you motherfuckers are Bruce Wayne.
Everyone is actually, but nice try, Bronze. Everyone in the chat is
Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, they all are.
And the ones who aren't Bruce Wayne are Tony Stark.
Yeah.
But when you're not that, like, yeah, I think it's having rapport because then it's less. It's like it's the best way that my therapist described it, right? Like men are like dogs and women are like cats. That's how he described it to me. He was like, men are like dogs. They know what they want. They want what they want. They're very simple. And women are like cats. They like to be like, you know, I don't know. You have to get to know them. You have to get to know how to treat with them and get to know their personality. Like every cat is very different. Now, at the time, I was like wildly offended when he told this to me, where I was like, what?
I could be like a dog too.
Men are as nuanced and varied. They are a cornucopia of color and sentimentality and sensitivity. And I was like, I don't believe that at all, right? But then I realized like it was in what he was describing was in context of like what you said. Like if a hot girl came up to you and was like, hey, I'm interested in you, you basically said like you and most guys would be like, yeah, sure, whatever. But a lot of girls probably wouldn't.
What's happening here? What's the angle?
We each speak like a lot of women have like a different language that of what they want, of what they're interested in. And that takes time to sort of get to know. So when somebody puts an effort like to get to know you, they've established rapport and then they ask you out. You know, it's not just because of your looks or just because you play games or just because, you know, your ass looks good in that skirt. Like they've taken an interest in you and now they're hitting on you and it's immediately 10% more flattering. And the dude is immediately 20% more charming because he's used to talking to you. So everything falls in line perfectly because even though you might be talking to somebody just because she's a total smoke show, they don't want to feel that way because nobody is just a piece of meat. No one ever wants to feel like you're only talking to them because they're hot as shit. Like everybody wants to feel like you've taken an effort to get to know them. And from the way you're describing stuff, in episode 1, you were talking about how like people say you must have a magic dick. And now it makes like total sense where it's like, no, but you give very attractive women something that they don't otherwise have, which is that you look past the attractiveness and get to know them. And to attractive women, that is so fucking just like magical.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not hard to go up to a hot girl and be like, hey, baby, you know, like that's not, they probably hear that 400 times a day. But for somebody to get to know them and spend time with them with like no contractual obligation of like, if I buy you this drink, are you going to fondle my balls? Like, but just like, oh yeah, let's hang out. I think that's infinitely flattering. And ultimately, when you think about the whole magic of courtship, it's about making the other person feel special, right? That's why we do things like compliment them, buy them things, get them flowers. But spending time with somebody, getting to know them, learning things about them, what's more flattering than that? Not really. That's why
there's some kind of crazy stat where like 80% of people meet their SOs at like work or something like that. It's just because you have more interactions, you have more familiarity and time around that person, and you get to know them.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of that's true. I think this is really good because I think the best single piece of advice, if we broke this entire show down in like a single point, is flirting in the context of familiarity and like you know the person is so much better and more welcome. Because you'll still fuck up, and there's like no secret algorithm for every man or every woman, right? Like you're not going to do these three things and that's just going to work. Everyone's different. Some things are, it's crazy too, right? Like again, the ridiculous example of like what works for Brad Pitt is not going to work for a lot of us. So if you're coming at it from the angle of you're a Greek god, then you're going to have a little bit more leeway for some people. But at the same time, if you're an extremely competent, charismatic person that is meeting this person for the 9th time at the familiar game store, and that person's like, this person likes the same shit that I do, and you can work from there, that's cool. That's not to say don't take your shots. I think the other piece of advice I think we should distill from the show is like, and that's why it's interesting, is there's no single answer, right? Like for Britt, don't ever fucking hit on her. I mean, well, she's got a boyfriend, by the way, of like 5 years, so probably don't ever hit on her anyways. But don't hit on her on the sidewalk. She fucking hates that, right? And I think 99% of women would hate that. But if you're gonna like try something out of the blue because you just are so beside yourself, be open to failure. You know, be ready for that. And that actually can be attractive
read the room, like, you know, like
read the room. Yeah, I like that better.
Yeah, like if somebody makes eye contact with you, or if they smile at you, they're very nice with you. Like, learn to be sensitive and cue in on other people's like.
Mm-hmm. Check it's not someone behind you. That's happened to me.
Yeah, you know, like some people don't mind being hit on at the gym. Yeah, and I've seen boys and girls both hit on each other at the gym. Me, like, dude, I feel like I have such a demeanor that if somebody comes up to me while I'm lifting, like, I'm not, motherfucker, I got 50 minutes here and I have like 8 things to do after this.
It's not even that, Bronze. It literally becomes a 1980s rom-com it should in your head. Like, in what world? Okay, I love working out. I'm in the gym. There's all kinds of attractive girls. I've always, like, that should be a place to meet them, but I can't. I work it over my head where I'm always like, what do you fucking do? What? You like they're doing a lift, you walk over and be like, wow, you're doing that lift really well.
I've seen tons of people hook up at the gym, but once again, it's like rapport. It's like I see it all the time. And usually it's people that are like, hey, how's it going? I see you here all the time. That literally happened
it has to be
when I was at the gym Monday. When I was at the gym Monday, they were like, you know, oh, to somebody else. This is happening at the squat rack next to me because I work with a trainer. So nobody's going to approach me. That's half the reason I have a trainer. And the rack that was like across and went over, you know, like the dude walks by. Incredibly.
You saw this happen? It worked?
Yes.
Go on.
Incredibly fucking attractive.
Yeah.
And he fucking winks at the girl. He's like, we gotta stop running into each other like this. And she fucking took that bait. But once again,
he's got chlamydia dick, though.
Just that he was hot. It was the delivery, the way he's like, we gotta stop running into each other like this. And she's like, I know, I see you here all the time. And they like started chatting, and he's like, oh yeah, I'm training for a competition. And I was sitting there watching this happen, and my trainer was like,
no. Bronze, just to be clear, you did not give us a good example. No, that's not a good example. That you just talked about a rom-com again.
No, but that happened.
No, the whole story is the guy's outrageously attractive, and he drops the stupidest fucking line in the world.
But it worked on her.
That's the thing.
He read the room, right? Like he noticed that she always smiled at him, like every time he comes in, or she smiles back, and that was like their first.
Okay.
like verbal contact, right? Like clearly when he said that line, like they see each other there all the time. Like I know I see her there all the time. That bitch basically lives at the gym.
No. So you did distill some value from this again. You said he read the room, so she like made eye contact. Obviously, gave some kind of indication that if he walked over, she wasn't then going to kick him in the dick, right? So that is so important because then the line makes more sense. But and this we could make a whole episode of this. And please, let's not spend too much time on this. But that's my problem with dancing. I think you're a really good dancer, man. God, you look good, right? It's a good dancers look good. I'm not a particularly good dancer. I'm not like cripplingly bad or something, but I cannot take myself serious with dancing. I think I look so fucking stupid that I can't do it. It's the same thing as hitting on someone in the gym. Like there is no line except one so cheesy like that. It can only be that like
you get that if you get that vibe. Like the smoothest women who have ever hit on me with cheesy lines like that it's always been women. And one of them was like the lady at Emerald City Smoothie. I'll never forget it. And I low-key did have a crush on her. I'm not going to lie.
You suck on that smoothie so good.
No, but like I came in and I was like, yeah, can I get it? And she was like, matcha green tea with B-share. And I was like, yeah. And she's like, yep, I remember. And I was like, that's pretty cool. And she's like, yeah, you're the best part of my day. And I was just like, fucking.
Okay.
I was like, I'm not.
Bronze story.
I have a boyfriend, but
then that last part was good.
I was literally just like, I have a boyfriend, but fuck that dude. Like, I'm willing to live on the wild side. Let's go.
What a great hypocritical story you tell. But you just got done talking about setting up boundaries and being honest. You're like, well, fuck my boyfriend, huh?
I know. I'm just kidding. I didn't actually go out there, but I remember feeling guilty because I was like, oh yeah, I do. Like I subconsciously was doing it. Like I did 100% think she was super cute. And so I was totally obviously like, hi, like
people do
and
that
she
too.
Obviously picked up on that. And then I felt terrible because obviously I had no interest in dating her, which is, I felt it was the opposite. I felt bad because I don't know. Was harboring a subconscious crush on her for sure.
We have a whole nother show about that, but that's human too, right? Like even if you're in the most committed 30-year happy marriage, you're not trying to set yourself up with somebody else. It's like,
you're funny, allowed to have a crush.
You're still a human, yeah.
Oh my God, you're totally allowed to have a crush. And I think the other part of me, number one, didn't realize she was gay. Number two, didn't think she'd ever be interested in me because this is somebody who's like incredibly fit. They work at a smoothie shop, like. Her ass looked like a peach. What are you
saying?
Her ass looked like a fucking peach.
You gotta explain yourself a little bit better. I didn't think she was gay. She was incredibly fit.
Well, yeah. I was like, she's way out of my league. And then, she hit on me. So I thought it was okay to be like I was harboring this like subconscious crush. And I was like, she would never say anything to me because, number one, probably not gay. Number two, like way out of my league. And then she did. And I was like, I don't know what to do with this.
Explain that gay people can be fit too. Go ahead. Roll back the tape. She said, I didn't think she was gay because she was fit.
No, I didn't say because she was fit. I said, number one, I didn't realize she was gay. Number two, she was incredibly fit. No, I didn't. Wait, no. That's not what I was trying to say at all.
Listen, when you slander my gay audience like that.
I would never slander the gay audience. In fact, I think the gay audience on average is more fit than the straight audience.
Okay. Now you're slandering my straight audience.
Well, I'm saying.
Ross thinks you're all. No, I'm just kidding.
We talked about the stereotype while we were playing Division because I like dressed my character in cargo shorts and I was like, she looks like, Base said it. He's like, oh yeah, REI lesbian. I was like, that's the thing. The REI lesbians and all they do is hike and mountain climb and have like 3 Labrador retrievers and they're like fit as hell and beautiful outdoorsy Northwest types. God bless y'all. God bless. This episode is dedicated to you, the beautiful lesbians of REI.
Oh, REI. I thought you were saying Aria, like Aria Grande. And I was like...
No, REI.
REI lesbians. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay. The hikey outdoorsy types.
I don't.
But you're from Oregon.
It's fine. You're saying things that if I were to say, I would get fired from. So I cannot. But...
Really? People are too sensitive. Get over it. Look at people's intent instead of like,
That's right.
Finding something to be offended over.
Episode 4. We'll do that. So yeah, it's been about an hour and 15. Let's wrap it up with a few things. But I like this. It's been an amazing talk. We kind of went all over the place, and this will be one of our more scattered episodes, I guess, but that's fine. I want to look over the chat. If you guys have any topics or questions about dating real quick that we can spend a couple of minutes on, that's cool. Otherwise, I would just say this is a funny episode because I can't distill this into a couple of lines. Like, I think this is just you have to listen to the whole thing. And what I like, one of the takeaways for me for this, though, that I do enjoy, and this is going to be a theme for like all of our shows, I think, there is no right answer necessarily. And of course, there's blurred lines, and of course, there's asterisks. But I think, and this is what this show is like basically all about, think about it and pull it apart and give it more thought as opposed to just like going off of base instincts. Because that's a lot of the from the guy's perspective of like, I'm friends with this girl, I'm quietly kind of sitting in the shadows waiting for my moment to strike. I don't think a lot of guys like actively do that. They don't have a timeline, they don't have a strategy, but that is what's happening. They're kind of that way, and I think it's so much better to talk and be open, so that if
think
there
about
is
whether
something
you're
there,
setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah. But also it's just about respect too, right? Because a lot of times, I know so many girls that they're so disappointed because they just find out that they had a guy friend. They didn't have a guy friend. They had a guy that was angling and waiting. And it's just hurtful. It's just tough. Whereas if you're just kind of upfront, where you're like, hey, I am your friend, but just so you know, like I'm romantically interested in you and I'm thinking about you. And then the girl has the opportunity, or guy or whatever, has the opportunity to be like, hey, I'm really not open to that. And it's not something that I look at you for. Then you got to be mature about it and be like, okay, well, I can just be friends. Or be like, hey, no disrespect. That's totally great. I'm glad we had this talk, but, you know, I'm going to move on because I don't want to put myself in that place. That's cool, too. That's respectful. How does a guy make a compliment to a girl without making her think he's hitting on her? Dude, I'm going to guess Bronze doesn't have the answer to this because I just don't think she's smart enough to do it. No, I'm just kidding. But, like, this is my struggle every day, man. Sometimes, and it's not even just girls. I'll tell you this right now. Some of these motherfucking guys out there smell so good, or they're like so put together that I want to like whisper into the nape of their neck and be like, "You're a real classy dude," you know, or "You're really fucking awesome." And then some girls, sometimes and I know this too. Like, even girls in my life or whatever, like it's so nice to hear you look really beautiful today, or like, you look really nice, but goddamn, in society at least, you can't. You really can't. And I don't know that that's necessarily wrong, but it does take that, what Bronze probably said earlier, read the room or like have familiarity or rapport. If you're friends with a girl, you can say shit like that, right? But sometimes I see these strangers and I'm just like, I want to tell them they smell so good, but that sounds like I'm trying to wear their skin suit. So I don't know. I can't do it.
Yeah. It's weird, and you have to strike a balance with it. And I struggle with this too. Like I'm one of those people that I love complimenting people, and then it's like they immediately, once again, smoothie girl situation 2.0 of like, oh, clearly she's interested in me. I'll ask her out. And it's like, oh no, that's not what I wanted. One thing I've realized from other people who do it well, not me, but other people, is they have the right demeanor for it. So instead of being like, you look lovely today, instead they'll come into work and be like, look at you with your little pencil skirt and your heels. And you're just like,
look at me. Yeah.
You know, like, and they're like, look at you.
That's actually really good too. It's good advice.
You know, like the way they do it is it's like less serious of like, you look beautiful today. And they're like, damn girl, you're trying to cut somebody with those eyebrows. And I'm like, I just got them done. They're like, I know. And I'm just like,
that's really good.
Thank you. I love you. You know, like that's how you, like, they're like less serious about it. And I realized that was my problem, was I was so serious about it, you know?
Yes. Yeah. That's mine as well.
Where I was just like, I have to say, sir, your entire getup is quite fantastic. Instead of like, damn, look at that 3-piece suit. Where are you going? You know, like it's a dead delivery. Some people just have it where they can walk around complimenting people.
I know.
And just like, you're like, I wish I had that cool attitude. I still don't have it. Like I could do it on camera, but I don't feel like I could ever get away with that. You know, I don't feel like I could ever come into some fall cycle and be like, damn, Jeff, look at you. Like, I don't think I could get away with it. I just don't have that demeanor, but some people do.
You and me both. Yeah.
Some people just are like, you know,
Jesse, for instance, Jesse could say it to anyone and
yes,
you'd be like,
yes,
yeah.
Jesse could compliment anybody and they would be like, oh, thanks.
Yeah.
You know?
That is so good. That's true. It's funny though, because it's like I don't know, it's like a prison I built for myself, because I'm generally like, I'm very serious, but even my sense of humor is very dry, all that kind of stuff. But sometimes, like I said, I just see someone, like, I want to tell them that they are fucking killing it, but when it
Yeah,
comes from
people have
me, it
told me I
sounds
smell
weird.
good.
Yeah.
People have told me I smell good, but they're like, and some of them have been dudes, like, you know, where it's like, I don't know what you are wearing, but when the door opened and you came in to get your coffee, it felt like spring came into this goddamn Starbucks. And I'm like, thanks. It's Gucci bamboo. You know, like some people are just really good at it
Yeah.
instead of being like, you smell really good. They're just like, you know.
That's me though. I want to I want to say that to you.
Yeah. At
Dude.
TwitchCon, one of my viewers, love her to pieces, was like, she like standing next to me and she's like, you smell like wealth. And I was like, what? She's like, you would smell like how I imagine Beyonce smells. And I was like,
that's awesome.
You know, but some people are just really good at making it like casual and not like, you smell really good. You smell like jasmine flowers in sunshine.
You smell like curry.
Don't say that.
African. Let's see if you can unpack this, because I was trying to think about this. Great question. He says, keeping to the relationship agreement, how to best talk to the other partner who may be trying to push those boundaries covertly, i.e. trying to make it too serious. So I think, African, you can correct me if I'm wrong, you're talking about like a friend that is trying to suggest and kind of put out the non-verbals of wanting more than just friendship, right? Is that what we're talking about?
Like if you're in the opposite version of that, like they're trying to push the boundaries and you're trying to stay friends.
Yeah. Like how would you handle that?
Oh, damn. I've never like, yeah, I don't know. I've never been in that situation, because a lot of times when people are trying to enforce that boundary or whatever, or push those boundaries, they're like
established
very
romantic relationship, not friends. Oh, so they're trying to make it more serious. You mean they're like, I want to move in with you? Is that what you're talking about, African? Or like, let's take it to the next level?
That's always awkward.
That's a tough one, man.
That's a tough one.
I'll tell you what. Yeah, he says that. Okay, so I'll start.
It's a tough one.
All I can say is there's no single answer to this, but I'll tell you what I've learned in the biggest of ways, and all I can use is my own experience as well. Like, you should not be in a relationship, or you should not settle for a relationship where you're not happy. You should not. So, like, if that person wants to take it to the next level and you're not ready to do that, you need to talk. You need to communicate that, because if you just are like, okay, I'll just do it, and then you find yourself unhappy, you could be ruining something that you otherwise would have really liked. And that doesn't mean that you don't necessarily ever take it to the next level with that person. It just means that you weren't ready at that time for one reason or another, be it finances or too early in the relationship or whatever. But if you put yourself out or are uncomfortable and you are in an unhappy situation in your relationship, it will always, almost always, either it's going to get to a point where it's bad and then you have to work on it and maybe you can salvage from there, or what's probably worse is you settle. It gets to a place where you're just at a level of discomfort or unhappiness that's acceptable for you, and you just pedal there. If you're with someone that's got your back and you're happy and you're open and honest and sharing things and you trust them, that is one of the best fucking places you can be in this whole world. I know I'm talking to a chat full of people that have Heidi Klum as their girlfriend and Brad Pitt as their husband and stuff like that. So I know we all know what we're talking about here, but I'm just saying, like, fight for that is basically what I'm getting at. Like, if you're not being honest enough with each other, and one person's uncomfortable because they're like, I want to take this to the next level because I need that commitment, and the other person's like, I'm not sure how to communicate to you that I'm not ready for that, you got to have the talk. You just have to talk it out. And maybe you don't go about the talk very well, but you got to work on that as well. Because if you do settle, if you don't talk and you send mixed signals, or you accommodate, you could ruin a relationship, and or worse, you could put yourself in a relationship you don't like.
And relationship dynamics change. People change, people grow, like especially like if in your early to mid 20s. I know I'm not the same person. If you have a relationship that's been going on for like, you know, I've been in relationships for 9-10 years, you know, like when you have that type of thing, things change. Things just fucking change. And maybe what you wanted, like I'm talking about, like you both decide we're not going to have kids, and like 6 years in, one of you changes your mind. Like there are things that you have to come together and discuss. And I think when you're talking about a relationship early on that has like boundaries of like, let's keep this really casual, or I still want to see other people and blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
If you start to perceive that changing, you have to address it, like whether that's for the other person or whether that's for yourself. And you also have to remember that different people grow at different rates. Like different people take different amounts of time to grow close to somebody. They take different amounts of time to like want something more. They take different amounts of time or even different amounts of attention, really. Like, you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
One of my first boyfriends called me clingy, and it like broke me for for years until I met somebody else that was just like, you know, it was a
Want to be
friend of
clingy.
mine,
Yeah.
but I was like, I need to change this. Like, I hate this about myself. And he was a friend of mine who was in a happy marriage, and he was like, different people have different attention requirements. And this person is very much the type of person that wants to see their girlfriend once a week, and
Mm-hmm.
you are not. And there's nothing wrong with that. You have to find somebody that matches your attention requirements.
Yep.
And my life has been so much better since taking that advice to heart. And I'm really happy that that happened in my very first relationship, because all I could think was like, there's something wrong with me. Now I realize like there's no hard and fast answer for that. There's a lot of people that are totally happy seeing their significant other once a week. There's some that are totally happy seeing them once a month. There's other people in this chat that are going to be like, I would like to see my girlfriend at least 2 or 3 times a week. Like once a week, that's crazy. And you live in the same town and you're not far from each other. Like,
right.
Obviously if you can't, that's different, but like, you know, we went to the same university, we lived down the street from each other, and so for me that was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But I think like you have to remember people are so different, and the best thing you can do is be honest. And ultimately it was like, this isn't working for me, and
Absolutely
then
agreed.
yeah it's rough, but
Scary. Sometimes people are like living together too, and they're going to have that talk, and the result could be, you know, the most uncomfortable thing in the world, which is you like have to break up and disentangle your lives and all that. And I get it, but I'll tell you what, like I said, being with somebody that you're happy with and like forging forward in life with is like one of the best feelings there are, man. At least, again, for me. Maybe for somebody else, like, no, I'm a lone wolf, man. I don't give a shit about that. It's like totally fine. That's for you, but at least from my experience, getting to a place where you've got someone that's got your back and you're both there moving forward, it's such a good place. So if you're unhappy with your relationship, talk about it, work on it. But like Braun said, sometimes it gets to a place too where it's like they want something completely different, and that's okay. They maybe change to that, or maybe you didn't figure it out until 6 months in the relationship. I don't know. But that's where you're at. So talk with them about it, and if they're like, that's who I am, then come to grips with it. Move on, or don't, I guess.
yeah,
But that's it.
that's like maturity. I think
That is
you
maturity,
grow
yeah.
up, you grow up thinking, oh, my breakup is going to be me and this person hating each other or fighting or them cheating on me. But you're going to have a breakup where you love each other, you click, everything is great. But they want to move to Italy and start their own pasta restaurant, and you
Yeah.
don't. And those are the ones that hurt the most.
Yeah. I have not had that yet, but Jesus, I've had some
Oh,
friends
yeah,
that did.
I have. Those are the worst,
Oh,
because you do love each other. Everything's perfect, but you don't want the same things out of life. And
yeah.
or you know that they want kids and you don't want kids, or you know, like just different things like that. Things happen, and you
It
can still
does.
be in love with someone and still have things not work out. Those are the worst breakups. They're the most pleasant because you're still like, you know, you love each other, and so
Yeah.
but they're also like the worst.
Dude, my buddy went through that. It was psychically tough to even just like be in the vicinity of, because they're like, oh my God, you love each other. That's all that matters. But for people, man, maybe it doesn't. Maybe
Yeah.
other things get in the way. It happens.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, that is, I think we're going to put a stamp there. It was episode 3, talking about the etiquette of flirting, which honestly, kind of the theme with us is it was loosely based on that, but was actually everything else. It's a very cosmic show. I'm really enjoying this. Bronze, are you around next week? Are we doing this again?
Yeah, I think so.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So there you have it. We'll set up next one. We are going to have guests on. That is one of the desires we have for the show. Bronze has a friend that's a doctor. She's got a friend that's a trainer. We want to do a gym episode at some point. I've got a lot of interesting friends I want to bring on at some point. Nero's in the chat. He's one of the great guys that would be really cool to talk to. Just get different perspectives on things. God, I actually already forgot. I had a topic that came to me. I was like, write that down, Jeff. And of course I didn't. Anyways, we'll talk about everything. Bronze, you're streaming. You're on shows. What are you up to? Please tell the people. And everyone follow her on Twitter. It's that Bronze Girl.
Yeah, so I stream every morning. I'm a variety caster, and I'm getting geared up to launch my own RPG on my channel. It's the first one I'm doing on my own channel.
Nice.
I've only ever done them on other people's channels. And I'm also doing an actual play D&D podcast.
What?
Which will be really exciting. Yeah, it's called The Real Housewives of Ravnica. And it's going to be great. It's going to be great. So
look at you going full tabletop. Nice.
Yeah, it's something that I really enjoy. And so, yeah, most of my mornings just start with the casual talk show. So it's nice to branch out from video game stuff once in a while.
Oh, yeah.
Once in a while.
Very cool. Well, make sure to follow her on Twitter. For me personally, I'm going to be shutting down the stream, but then bringing it back up in like a couple of hours, probably tops, or maybe less than that. I don't know. We're going to stream a couple games of Warhammer 40,000 tonight. I'll be playing my Gene Sarah Colt against my friends. We got Thousand Suns. We have Yanari and Admech, I think. So maybe 3 games. Maybe we're just going to stream forever. We'll see. Otherwise, tomorrow's Sunfall Cycle, which both Bronze and I are on at 10. Is it 10?
Mm-hmm.
10, right? Yeah, 10 a.m.
Yeah.
EDT.
Wait, aren't we pushing it to a 2-hour show?
I don't know.
I think Steven said we're pushing it because we sprung forward. And
so it's 11.
Yeah, I think it's a 2-hour show now.
Yeah, it's a 2-hour show for 3 weeks. Is all.
For 3 weeks.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's going to happen.
Make it clear if it was this week or next week, but I'm pretty sure it's this week.
And then Pile and Show at the regular time tomorrow. If you're watching this on YouTube, thank you so much. The feedback's been really awesome. Just thank you all in general, actually. There's been a lot of people coming in saying they really enjoy this. And I got good news for you. I have one of the most incredible right-hand guys you could possibly have, Mr. Cobra Venom there in the chat. He's going to be making this show into a podcast as well. All 3 episodes will be up on SoundCloud. I assume we'll have links for that to share or whatever. I actually don't understand podcasts. Cobra is like I'm his man-child, and he's my father figure or something like that. He understands that shit. I don't know. But it's going to be on SoundCloud. People have been asking about it for podcast format. It's going to be there. And then people have been asking about monetizing the show. Honestly, if you just sub to Bronze Girl, you sub to me, and say things like, I like your content, I like the Deadpan Diaries, so keep doing that. That's the kind of monetization we're looking for right now. We just want to make cool content, and if you support that and like that, then support us as content creators. That's the plan for now. We'll see. The future is open, but if you do that kind of stuff, then we really appreciate it. That is it. It'll be up on YouTube in 24-ish hours or so, and we'll have another episode next week, and we'll tweet out and talk about it there. Just thank you guys so much. Goodbye, everybody.